Call, please.
Tucker Whitman.
Here.
Ben Vitale.
Present.
Mark Farrell.
Present.
Paul Pinkney.
Present.
Joseph Runkle.
Present.
Keith Batman.
Here.
Hans Petcher.
Here.
Terry Baxter.
Here.
Joseph Bennett.
Here.
Frank Reginelli.
Here.
Patrick Mahonic.
Here.
Timothy Lattimore.
Here.
Michael Didio.
Here.
Ryan Foley.
Here.
Michael Chapman.
Here. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of prayer? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First on our agenda, I would like to introduce Michelle Baines. She is the new director of the Cayuga County Water and Sewer Authority. Welcome, Michelle. I believe we have your number, so you can expect numerous calls starting tomorrow.
Well, welcome that. We certainly do. You know, we want the Water and Sewer Authority to continue to be a leader in this county in terms of addressing the water and wastewater needs. And just to let you know that I believe this is the 20th anniversary for the authority. I believe they were formed in 1995, so we really look forward to the next 20 years. And we've just come off a very large sewer project up in Fairhaven that wrapped up at the end of 2014. That consent order up there that was in place for 25 years has now been lifted. So certainly a very successful project. So we want to use that momentum and move forward and help solve some of the issues that exist here in the county. So please call us. I look forward to working with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Madam Clerk.
Our sincere condolences to the family and friends of Vincent Mahonic, beloved father of legislator Patrick Mahonic, Bernie Newcomb, retired Cayuga County Director of Probation, Henry Ververs, father of Doug Ververs, Executive Director of Cornell Cooperative Extension, Charles Riffle, brother-in-law of legislator Paul Pinkney, Donald Terrell, retired county highway employee and father of Greg Terrell, current highway employee.
Mr. Lattimore, I believe you.
Sophie Forward was a dear friend of my mother, and I just wanted to put that in the record book. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move forward with a presentation. Steve Churchill, who is a Seneca County Supervisor, has joined us tonight with a couple of colleagues to talk to us about the proposed gas storage on Seneca Lake. So Steve, welcome, and your colleagues, welcome.
Thank you. Is this live? All right. Let's see. Yeah, she's got the right slide up. She is very good. You got some good staff here. You're very lucky. Not that we don't in Seneca County, but they're exceptional. Good evening. My name is Steve Churchill, and I live in Seneca Falls. I'm a member of the Seneca County Board of Supervisors, where I chair the Environmental Affairs Committee. But more importantly, I'm a lifelong resident of the Finger Lakes. I'd like to thank this legislature and Chairman Chapman for allowing me and my colleague, Joseph Campbell, to present to you this evening. Why are we here? Well, tonight we represent Seneca Lake, and on her behalf, we've come to ask you for your help. As many of you know, on the south shores of Seneca Lake, 3 miles north of Watkins Glen, a Texas company, Crestwood Midstream, has proposed to construct an LPG and natural gas storage hub for the entire northeastern Canada. For many in the Finger Lakes region, Seneca County included, the risks to the water, our environment, economy, and our very way of life are unacceptable. And we have asked the DEC and the governor to deny the permits required for this project to go forward. This evening, we come to appeal to your common sense and love for our home, the Finger Lakes. A little overview of the project. Crestwood is proposing to store day one 88 million gallons of LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, and other explosive fuels in unlined, abandoned solution mine salt caverns on the shores of Seneca Lake. literally a couple of football fields distance from the lake itself. It's fair to say that Tom Brady could easily toss a football into the lake from these well pads. That is, if the football was properly deflated. That's the only one I got. But I wrote it myself. I just want to give a little history about salt mining and solution mining in general. Salt mining in New York State goes way back about 200 years. Primarily, salt mining was conducted around Onondaga Lake in the early years. The formation that salt is taken from is called the Syracuse Salt Formation, and it's primarily because that's where it comes up and kind of to the surface. Its closest juncture is there in the Syracuse area. Solution salt mining was first occurred in 1881 in Wyoming County. Schuyler County had its first solution mine in 1893, and the number of known drilled wells, and that's important because not all the old wells, folks don't know where they are, in Schuyler County stands at 88. The salt formation is very huge. I mean, it's essentially the same size as the Marcellus Shale. It sits above the Marcellus Shale. What is a solution salt cavern? Well, the way they harvest salt salt out of these solution mines is that they drill down into the salt formation, inject hot water under pressure, dissolve the salt, bring it back to the surface, evaporate it, and they have the salt. Nobody goes into these salt caverns. Nobody's seen the inside, albeit without the use of sonar. They aren't like a dry mine. Dry mine are the ones that exist under Cayuga Lake, and the folks drive trucks down in there and work every day down in the mines. Solution mines aren't that. They also weren't designed to hold fuels. Let's talk for a moment about Seneca Lake. Seneca Lake is a source of drinking water for over 100,000 people in our region. It provides clean water for half of the residents of my county, Seneca County. And Seneca holds over half of all the fresh water of all the Finger Lakes combined. The Seneca Lake watershed sits in 5 counties and is home to over 40 municipalities. And like all our lakes in the Finger Lakes, it is an endless source of beauty. If we go to, I guess I can do this, right? Now we're going to look at some data. And it looks kind of confusing and tough to follow, but it's really very easy. And these slides come from Dr. John Halfman of Hobart William Smith College. He's a member of the Finger Lakes Institute. He's been studying all of our lakes for over 20 years. He is the expert on Seneca Lake. But what the slides show, if I can get this thing right, on the bottom is we have all 11 Finger Lakes. And this is a measure of chloride in parts per million in those lakes. And you'll notice that Seneca Lake over here stands alone. And you would think, what makes it unique? Well, and what accounts for the salt that we see down here? What accounts for the salt that we see down here primarily is salt from runoff, road salt. They probably put a lot out this morning, that type. So you could probably say that Seneca safely has probably the same amount of road salt in it than any of the other lakes. But what you can't account for is this. Something is loading the lake with sodium and chloride beyond the wash off of road salt. What Halfman will tell you is that he can't tell you exactly where it's coming from, but it's primarily probably coming from groundwater is the primary source. The top slide shows chloride over time. So it starts back in 1900. It starts to ramp up a little bit. But what's really key is right here, 1964. And in 1964, you see this graph just takes off. Well, what happened in 1964? That's the first year that liquid petroleum gas was stored in one of these abandoned salt caverns by a company called TEPCO at the time. And they stored 3 million gallons. I mentioned earlier, 88 million gallons is what the proposal is now. They stored 3 million gallons for 20 years. until 1984, and then they stopped, and they stored it under pressure. And so that's kind of the key here, is that they pressurize this fuel to keep it in its liquid state, store it in these salt caverns, and the theory, and it is just a theory because you can't make the direct connection, is that by pressurizing these fuels in these caverns caused sodium and chloride salt to seep into the lake. And that's what we're trying to avoid now. I mean, in Seneca County, this is all we needed to see. This is what compelled us to say, you know what, we can't risk our water, our drinking water, for 100,000 people to store these fuels. Do we need to store these fuels? Absolutely. But on the shores of Seneca Lake, that close, makes no sense. So, Seneca County, a year ago, 2 years ago, we passed a resolution. And since then, we've been joined by 16 other towns, cities, villages, and counties. There's 4 counties that have passed a resolution asking the DEC to deny the permit to Crestwood and to secure Seneca Lake. Now, why are we here? I mean, some folks would say, well, you can't go to Cayuga County, they don't border Seneca Lake. I've always seen this as a regional issue. I mean, we really do need you. Albany is not listening, but I think if we get a big enough group, if we keep spreading it, they've got to listen. This is a Finger Lakes issue. It's not a Seneca Lake issue. It's a Finger Lakes issue. These salt formations exist under your lakes. They could be, they won't, there never will be any solution mines under Owasco or Skinny Atlas, but there could be because the salt is there. It's also interesting to note that the EPA guidance, or the EPA and DEC has issued a guidance level for sodium in drinking water. And that guidance level is 20 milligrams per liter. Seneca Lake sits at hovers between 60 and 80. So what does that guidance mean? Well, if you're a newborn infant, Amanda just had, you don't want that child drinking water from Seneca Lake. It's not healthy for them. It's hard on their kidneys, the liver. And if you're suffering from other ailments such as that, kidney disease, heart disease, you shouldn't be drinking Seneca Lake water, even if it comes out of a water treatment plant. They do not remove the sodium and the chloride. So we can't afford to let it go much higher, and if anything, we should be trying to drive it the other way. I mean, you folks have some shorelines that border Skinny Atlas Lake, and Skinny Atlas Lake is the gold standard in the Finger Lakes. I mean, it doesn't suffer from any of the ailments that Seneca Lake has, and that's where we need to go. We don't need to push it in the wrong direction. We need to push it towards the direction of Skinny Atlas Lake. So I'm going to wrap up here and just say a couple things. Senator Mike Nozzolio and several other state representatives have also sent letters off to D.C. Commissioner Martens. Governor Cuomo has expressed his support on many occasions for the agritourism-based economy of the Finger Lakes. Just this past August, while at the Bassmasters Governor Challenge on Owasco Lake, the governor touted tourism, tourism, tourism. What we have here in upstate is a hidden treasure, and we want to share that treasure. And when first introducing the regional councils, the governor stated, and I quote, "With the regional councils, we will empower individual areas like the Finger Lakes to chart their own course for job creation and growth. We need to hold the governor accountable to those words and allow us who live, work, and are stewards of our beautiful environment to determine what projects are deemed right, or in this case, wrong, for the Finger Lakes." So tonight, we, Joseph, Yvonne, and myself, implore you to join Ontario, Yates, Seneca, and Tompkins counties, and so many other communities in the Finger Lakes, in our effort to protect and secure the future of those Finger Lakes. And we ask you to pass a resolution, as so many of your neighbors have, and request that the D.C. and Albany move to deny Crestwood's permit and protect the Finger Lakes. Thank you. And I'm going to ask Joseph, if we've got a couple more minutes, to come up, and he wants to, I mean, there's so much information we could give you, and if you have any questions at all, please ask, reach out to us, and we get you a ton of information. Thank you.
Yes, as Steve said, I'm Dr. Joseph Campbell, and one of the co-founders of a group called Gas Free Seneca. We've been fighting to preserve Seneca Lake, and by extension, the Finger Lakes region for 4 years today. I just wanted to point out that In addition to the slide that you saw with the all the municipalities, Senator Mike Nozzolio sent not one but 2 letters to Governor Cuomo and Commissioner Martens, sharing his concern with this project. Last August, we took a contingent of business owners, elected officials, and scientists to Albany, met with Deputy Secretary for the Environment, Basil Sagos, who sits at, Governor Cuomo's side. And out of that came what's called an issues conference, scheduled for this February 12th, a few short weeks from now, where we are seeking full party status. We're hoping to bring significant and substantive issues to this conference, leading to full adjudication. There are 4 groups in total seeking full party status or amicus status. Seneca Lake Pure Waters Association. There's a coalition of municipalities. 12 of the municipalities that have already passed resolutions are seeking full party status. And a newly formed Finger Lakes Wine Business Coalition is filing amicus status. They're filing an amicus brief, or have filed it rather. And 2 Schuyler County legislators took it upon themselves to also write an amicus brief. Could you advance my slide? This is a map that shows the wineries in the Finger Lakes region. And as you can see, a majority of them are on Seneca Lake. And this is why the Finger Lakes Wine Business Coalition is so concerned about this. They believe that this project threatens their livelihood. Could you advance the slide? Thank you. This is a quote from a Crestwood executive. He stated, certainly if you were starting from scratch, you would not pick this site for one of these projects. Go ahead. Dr. Rob McKenzie did an independent quantitative risk analysis on this project, and he found that the chances of something really bad happening over a 25-year period are greater than 40%. Go ahead. Thank you. And Wine Enthusiast named New York as the #1 wine region destination in the entire world last year. So this slide down below there, I don't think you're going to be able to see that. But really what it says is that what happens in the heart of the Finger Lakes impacts the entire region. Gas industry infrastructure is not good for our health and our safety. It's not good for our economy. It's not good for the Finger Lakes brand, the brand of the region. And it's not good for the climate either. So that's the extent of my presentation. Welcome any questions that you might have. Hopefully we didn't take up more than our allotted time.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, well, hopefully let's think about this for the next few minutes anyways, about constructing a resolution in support and moving that forward. So, Mr. Baxter.
Mr. Chairman, I had a couple residents of my district that wanted to speak on the same subject. Would it be all right to introduce them now while we're on the subject?
Sure, let's do that, sure.
I'd like to introduce Kathleen Gore, and after Kathleen has spoke, Judy Gentleman would like to speak.
Where would you like me to stand?
Right up there at the podium, Kathleen.
Good evening. I am a resident of Niles. We moved here from a Chicago suburb approximately 8 years ago. My husband was retiring. We wanted to live on a lake. I was from Rochester. I said, let's look at the Finger Lakes. He said, what's that? We went twice, we went 3 times, we looked around. He said, we're staying here. So we have moved to Niles, and I have been following this controversy and I would like to speak in support of the resolution. I believe that the risks that have been pointed out are too great, given what we have built here, given the fact that people live here, given the fact that we're talking about drinking water, and given the fact that it is not our job to provide jobs for Crestwood. It is our job to see that our area provides jobs for all of its citizens and provides a healthy environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Judy Gentleman. I live in Moravia, and I spoke to you recently before about another matter that has come before this body. And I'm back again because this is a really important issue, and I would like to speak in favor of the resolution, the consideration of a resolution in support of what has been requested here by Mr. Churchill and others who have spoken to you. A resolution to deny Crestwood's request for a permit. This enterprise does not belong on Seneca Lake. If you've had a chance to visit the area, you can see that it makes absolutely no sense. And the expansion of this project under the terms that have been proposed by Crestwood, which now even the president of Crestwood admits is a bad idea, is simply unacceptable, and it flies in the face of all of the economic prospects of the region in terms of agritourism, in terms of the very, very important winery industry, which is growing. The map you saw outlining the wineries along Seneca Lake and elsewhere is just really the beginning. We've read recently of investors from Europe who are interested in coming into this area to develop greater infrastructure in the wine industry, and they're not going to come if this is what the people of the region see as the future for the Finger Lakes. And I would agree with Mr. Churchill's characterization of this problem as one that is a problem for the Finger Lakes. It isn't just one of the lakes. It's not just Hemlock or Canisius. It's not just Skaneateles or Owasco or Cayuga or Seneca. It is a cross Finger Lakes issue. So I would urge you in the strongest possible terms to consider supporting this request that has been put forward tonight and to develop a resolution from our county to support this request for a denial of a permit. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, actually, I also have a constituent that would like to speak on this issue.
Very
We
good, Mr.
introduce
Bennett.
Merrill Mandello.
Hi, good evening. My name is Merrill Mandillo, and I live in Aurora, New York. Grew up in Auburn, New York. I'm here to also support the resolution that's could be presented from this county in the work that's been done. And you've pretty much heard all the reasons why it's important. But even if you just drive through that area and see its beauty, you can immediately understand how much this will change that. And putting aside all the other important issues, just that alone is enough for me to say this is wrong for our Central New York and our Finger Lakes. So I hope you can consider seriously, putting a resolution together and supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bettman?
We do not have a resolution for consideration, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Might I suggest that that this goes to the Government Operations Committee for the consideration and possible resolution to bring back to the next meeting?
I believe we have sample resolutions that we could proffer at that time and accelerate our process. So yes, we'll do that. We'll take care of that. Anyone have any objections? Mr. Lattimore?
Mr. Chairman, being chairman of the Power Authority for the County of Cayuga, you know, one of the big problems with New York is the cost of power, and but I believe that this particular, you know, everything's in the location, and I think that this is absolutely the wrong location for this particular power project. I think something farther away from the watershed would be the best thing. I don't like to see us stand in the way of lowering the cost of energy to our residents. I know that everybody's enjoying the cost of gasoline being reduced, and hopefully they got more money to do tourism and other things, but I just believe that this location is absolutely wrong, so.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions or comments on this topic? If not, we thank Steve, Joe, Yvonne, we thank you ladies for coming in and offering your support as well, and we'll move forward with a resolution.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, proclamation?
Proclamations. 2015 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Millennium Award recipients, Ms. Cindy Gilmore, Ms. Robin Knight, Ms. Gizzy Mitchell, Ms. Rhonda Overstreet Wilson, Mr. Jeffrey Prozulio. NAACP Hall of Fame inductee is Ms. Florence Smith, and legislator Tim Lattimore will present these on Friday. Recognizing New York State Association of Counties, 90 years of dedicated service. We have sent the proclamation over to them. When you go down, the ones that are going down for the conference, they're gonna put all the proclamations up on a board for everyone to see down there. Cayuga County salutes James M. Mickle, Eagle Scout. Mr. Chapman has already presented that. And Gerald Shaw Day in Cayuga County for his 100th birthday, and Terry Baxter presented that last week.
Jerry, do you have any comments about that presentation? It was rather unique.
It was, Mr. Schott was 100 years old and got around better than a lot of people, you know, half his age. He thoroughly enjoyed it. He had quite a good turnout. They also had a proclamation from Albany, but he was quite tickled to have that kind of recognition.
Well, great, thanks for taking our congratulations to him.
Well, thanks for letting me go there. I got the cake, I got the ice cream.
Thank you. Does any legislator have any public that wishes to be heard? If not, Madam Clerk.
Minutes for approval, 12/11/14.
Mr. Didio,
Motion to waive the reading for approval of the minutes.
second. Mr. Bennett seconds. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. At this time, I would like to call upon Dr. DeCinque.
Thank you very much. Let me just begin by saying Happy New Year. It's been an exciting year for me. I finished just over a year now at Cayuga Community College. Continue to enjoy the work, the challenge, and the service, I think, that we provide to the communities we serve and the students that take advantage of the wonderful opportunity to get a a reasonably quality higher education. And we're very proud of the work we do. Take a moment to invite any of you at any time that you would like to come over, and I always love to give tours and talk to people and show off the college. If you're interested in taking a drive to Fulton with me, if you're closer to that end, be happy to show you what's going on there. Some very exciting things happening on the Fulton campus, some very exciting things happening here in the Auburn campus. We're just a week away from opening a new plastics technology lab. Courier Plastics has been extremely supportive of that project, and I toured the renovation project with John Courier and some of his staff the other day, and they are very excited about the opportunity to be training their workforce off-site. And the main reason is, I'm sure many of you realize, is if they can do this kind of training off-site, they don't have to take downtime on their lines and their production lines. So it's a very cost-effective way for them to do their training. And that's just one example of the many relationships that community college have with local business and industry. And you may be wondering why I'm emphasizing the community college's connections with business and industry, because I also feel a need to publicly counter the governor's statements in his State of the Opportunity, where he questioned community colleges' relationships with local business and industry. And hopefully you didn't even hear it, so I shouldn't have brought it up. But at the same time, after 40 years of working in community colleges and spending a good deal of my time working with business and industry, to see that the areas that we serve have the kind of workforce that they need, I'm quite offended by the fact that that seems to have gotten lost somewhere in the translation during the State of Opportunity address. In addition, I think it's important to remember that community colleges have a role in our communities, not only of providing workforce-ready graduates or those who come to us to gain additional skills for the workforce, but also a very strong effort on the transfer function as well, because many students come to us and are able to get the first 2 years of a baccalaureate degree, again, at a reasonable cost and in a high-quality way. Many of those students come to us unprepared at the beginning, and it is a challenge, but we get them ready and get them into college-level work and see that they transfer. I always am amazed, many times in the 40 or so commencement and graduation ceremonies that I have officiated over, I've always asked the question of the audience, how many of you have taken a course here? How many of you have a degree from here? How many of you have done anything at this community college? And invariably, most of the audience rises to their feet and recognizes that the local community college has played an important role in all of their lives. So that's my political message for the evening. That's coupled with the fact that the governor once again proposed, not only did he propose no increase in community college funding, he proposed a 10% holdback in the funding that we're currently receiving until certain things occurred. I have to tell you that we will be mobilizing our forces to challenge especially that part, but also the part of no increase in base aid. Our community colleges have for too long been underfunded for the important work they do, and I think it's the responsibility of people like me, and I should introduce Dr. Linda Van Buskirk, a member of our Board of Trustees, to be vocal about the need to support local community colleges. I may have said to this group one time that I'm always fond of saying, if you don't think that Cayuga Community College is important to this area, one, I can show you the numbers through the economic impact studies, but if you want to just take it from a very practical sense or a feeling sense, I ask people to close your eyes and go back 50 years. And now come back and imagine during those 60 years here that the college had never been there. I would suggest you'd have a very different community if Cayuga Community College had not been in this area for the past 60 years, serving the residents of this community, both in transfer and in workforce-ready programs. So I hope you'll join with me in those efforts as we contact our local legislators as well as our state legislators, and simply asking for our fair share and recognition and support for the important work that we do in our communities. Some news I just wanted to share with you on enrollment for the spring. We are on target for our budget. We are down students from where we were last year. Did you receive my report? So I won't go through it item by item. You'll notice that I did mention that. We'll be looking, at this point I had mentioned that the governor's budget was about to release. I just shared with you what's going on there. I also want to tell you that I think we had a wonderful meeting yesterday with Mr. Chapman Mr. Claire, Mr. Didio, and Mr. Batman on talking about the process of regionalization and beginning to look at the kinds of questions that the college and others might need to answer and information that we might need to put together to at least move that discussion forward. I want to again state that what I'm asking all of us to do is not at this time I'm not asking for approval or support, simply asking for an opportunity to discuss and look at what the alternatives are to secure the most stable future for Cayuga Community College. We also have just finished the demand analysis for student housing. We're drilling down into the data of that right now, but I can generally tell you that the demand analysis shows support for student housing of about 200 on the Cayuga campus and another 200 on the Fulton campus. That does not mean we will move student housing at this point, but it means we have the beginning of the data to support the further decision as to whether or not we will do student housing. We also have begun our work with Clark Patterson Lee, an architectural firm that was returned to update our facilities master plan. I'm very anxious to get working on that. You may or may not be aware that we are not permitted to submit capital requests to the state of New York without an updated facilities plan, so it's important that work gets done, and it'll be done within the next several months. So with that being said, again, I thank you for your support. Thank you for your willingness to listen. This is a great community. I think you've got a great community college, and I look forward to the remainder of my time here working with the members of this legislature and the Board of Trustees. The search for your permanent president is currently underway. Dr. Van Buskirk is co-chairing that committee. I think all I would say at this point, with her permission, is that it's going well. There are some good candidates in the pool, and we're optimistic that by commencement, we may have a new president in place. Any questions? Okay.
Doctor, I was at the State of the State, and I thought I was listening pretty good to the governor. I thought he was all in favor of the student to the industry relationship, so that when these kids got out of college, that they didn't have unemployment, that they could go right into an industry. So sometimes in the classroom when I was at ACC 60 years ago, that maybe I wasn't listening well, but I thought the governor was in favor of that connection between education and actual work to come right out.
I hope you're right.
And I thought,
I will be happy to share with you his exact words.
Yeah.
And the overhead that he put up that said that community colleges are often charging students exorbitant tuition for educational programs that do not lead to jobs. And I take direct offense at that. I think it's bad information. I think it is a gross inaccuracy of what community colleges have done for the last 60 years in this country.
I thought his comment was that, the indebtedness of students when they get done.
Right. Which is why he also provided no increase and took 10% away. And I don't mean to, and I don't want to stand here and debate this in that sense, but it just seems to me that the statements were not reflective of the role of community colleges. I had faculty members contact me that had listened to the speech and were immediately questioning, were they getting any value for the dollars they were spending after hearing the governor speak. So the best I would say is that he misspoke.
I think that approach might be better,
I agree with you.
That approach might be better?
that he misspoke.
Well, I would love to hear him say that he misspoke. Thank you.
Any other questions for the doctor? Dr. DeCinque, thank you very much. Are there any committee reports or individual legislator reports? Mr. Didio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Substance Abuse Committee, part of the Community Service, reports that there are most facilities in Cayuga County, as far as alcohol and other drug treatment is concerned, are at capacity or near capacity. and that report comes out each month. There is one piece that actually going to add that if you're concerned about the mental health chemical abuser programs, we're doing, Mr. Ray Bazzari runs a inclusive program. I've been involved in that type of program, and that's mentally ill chemical abusers, and I don't see anyone even close to what we do here. Isn't that right? Right?
We feel pretty good about the work we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other part of that is there is a campaign, the combat heroin campaign. It's completing a phase 1 portion of it. And let me read this. It is in the second phase that the governor's campaign on heroin, combat on heroin. It was launched initially in September. And the reason for it is to inform and educate New Yorkers about the risks of heroin and prescription opioid use, the warning signs of addiction, and the resources available to help. And all you need to do is, to access it, is go to Combat Heroin Campaign. The other piece is the Wasco Lake Management Council. Last week, we had a presentation by Dr. John Halfman. Seems to be all around the area. You heard the people from Seneca County mention him. And he gave a presentation on the quality of Owatsko Lake for 2014. Although disappointing, he did mention that it has regressed somewhat. But reasons being, part of it anyway, is the abundance of rain that we received last late winter and spring. And that was across the Finger Lakes. It wasn't only Owatsko Lake. So there are at least 5 lakes that are, and we're right in the middle, that have experienced problems. And Skinny Atlas is one, Canandaigua was another. Cayuga Lake. We don't hear much over this way, much about Cayuga Lake other than the pristine waters of Cayuga Lake. They've been running into the same problems, not as severe as Owatsko Lake. But let me say that there are many aspects of areas that the committee is looking to improve the quality of the water. And these things are going into effect as we speak. And I'll move on.
Any other legislators have any reports? Mr. Lattimore?
Chairman, I put in everybody's box on their computer the outline from the city in regards to their 2016 to 2020 general fund financial plan, and it should be in your email. One of the things that was included in there was I know we've talked about this before in regards to the fund balance policy. They had it down as unassigned fund balance is an important indicator of financial stability of the city. Fund balance can be used to deal with unforeseen emergencies or changes in conditions. Minimum fund balance, 10%, 5.2 weeks, 1.2 months. Maximum fund balance of 16.7%, 8.5 weeks, 2 months. So I know that we've always had a problem in regards to how much fund balance we should carry. I don't know where their comptroller got those statistics, but I'd like to see what we should have one of these days. But it's interesting that they did put out their 5-year plan.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, moving along, Ms. Sinclair.
Good evening. You should find that my report is in the box. Much of it is it was in the Ways and Means report, but it's repeated here for the entire legislature having to do with the budget. I did want to mention, in addition to what is in the written report, that the motor pool group met again this afternoon over in City Hall, and we did develop some strategies for the county facilities and the city facilities to actually take steps toward working together on that. So there is progress. It is slow, but I believe that by the 25th we will have something for you to sink your teeth into, so to speak. Also, in addition to the documents relative to the fund balance and other numbers requested by Mr. Runkle that were presented at Ways and Means, they are in the box under Ways and Means. Mr. Padlick returned from vacation this morning, so he did send to me his debt schedule. I have not included it simply because I haven't had a chance to review it to make sure it is responding to the questions that were asked about it. So if you have any other questions, I did want to also mention, because I know that you will all wait with bated breath, George Wethy is going to do a presentation at the March Public Works Committee meeting of the paving program and surface treatment program for 2015, so that you will all have a chance to kind of see what Highway is going to be doing this year. So, thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Sinclair? Okay, thank you. I would like to say thank you to everybody who helped spread the word with regard to the blood drive that was held a week ago and all those that participated. We had a total number of 44 donors. That was 6 more than had signed up. And the Red Cross is looking forward to possibly helping us with a similar blood drive again. I did attend the City Hall presentation by Matt Driscoll of the governor's budget proposals, and I think I'll just repeat what Matt said a number of times, that you gotta remember these are the proposals set forward by the governor, and it's up to us to continually remind our state elected officials of what we feel is most important and in what direction we need to proceed. I know Dr. DeCincio alluded to those comments made about community colleges, and I think there were a number of areas where we certainly would like to see more dollars directed to the region. And in addition, of course, there's going to be this competition with through consolidated funding and the regional councils. So we'll have really a couple of opportunities here for funds for special projects in our future. I did have a meeting with a young lady from the state of Virginia who represents on a national basis rail freight, and she provided a letter to ask for support. If you haven't seen that in your email, please take a look at it. It's pretty generic, just asking for support. There was also some discussion with Senator Nozzolio's office. They're looking for additional support with regard to home site and housing in our region. That letter has been addressed and taken care of. We also had a meeting this morning with some folks from Aula, and it was unique that after that meeting I received a call from Senator D. Francisco's office. His chief aide in Albany called to see if I was aware of the information that was presented this morning. The Aula group has made a request to the governor for $779,000 to be placed in the budget or to be granted for additional protection to Owasco Lake by reducing the injection of phosphorus into the water. So we're going to be following up on that some more and probably have some type of a regional meeting. I think the most important thing that happened in the last week, and I'm going to make the comment about the Citizen and all newspapers and publications, is I had the distinct privilege and pleasure to attend 3 Eagle Scout ceremonies. And I want to say that in the course of these Eagle Scout ceremonies, I wish that I looked at the newspaper the next morning and saw the headlines that said, we have 3 new Eagle Scouts in Cayuga County. The first ceremony, which included 2 Eagle Scouts, there was about 60 people in attendance. The last Eagle Scout ceremony, I gotta tell you, it was 111 people in an area not much bigger than this. So it was more than a sellout crowd. This young man, who's a student in Weedsport, had obtained 43 badges. I asked him how many school days he missed in order to obtain all these badges, but he assured me he was in school every day. But it truly is a rewarding experience to have the privilege of attending these ceremonies and seeing the importance that this scouting brings to our community. It's certainly a great foundation piece. And I hope, Ryan, I'll send you all the info on these guys if you want to get something to follow up. But I certainly hope that, you know, going forward, one of these days, we're gonna pick up the Citizen and we're gonna read about more Eagle Scouts. So, thank you. And that's it. Mr. Batman.
Yeah, I'm curious, you sent around a request for the ideas to share with, I think, with our elected representatives last week or week before last.
Yes.
And I'm curious about 2 things. One is that I don't think you ever got a final list, or at least.
Yes,
I
we
didn't.
did.
Well, could you resend that, or?
I
Sheila
could, yes,
resend
you
that
didn't
to
get
me?
it?
I don't think so. I couldn't find
Okay,
it. but-
okay. I talked to Matt Driscoll about that, and I talked to the governor's aide about that list and gave him a copy. And they thought that was a great idea, and to keep focused on some of those projects, and then we will follow up with our state elected assembly and senators to ensure that during the budget process, these things will be paid attention to.
Yeah, and that brings up my second suggestion related to that. I would like to see the final list. But my other suggestion or question perhaps is that a laundry list of things is good. A list that has some priorities that we all agree that are the things that we should pursue, I think is better. And I'm wondering if we can have some kind of process that begins to look at those things and sets priorities for the community, for the county, in terms of the kinds of things that we should be looking at as we move forward.
Right. Bear in mind, the purpose of that initial list was more or less a postcard to let them know we're here, let them know we're listening, we're thinking, and these are some areas that we have concerns about. What I would suggest, relative to your observations, is that each committee take it upon themselves to focus on some certain areas and develop a little message, if you will, and then we can gather them and send them in.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Lattimore.
Listening to the governor the other day, you know, I mean, broadband is big. I know that Keith has been working on that, and I was always in favor of that. Hopefully, we can get the state to put in our broadband in the north, and also the energy piece, as Matt Driscoll said the other day, that we are ahead of our time in regards to what we've presented to Matt already, so hopefully we can get some of the funding in place to help us.
Well, our, greatest mission is don't let them forget us,
Well, that's what I've been on the road, Chairman, trying to make sure that they know where Cayuga County is.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, Madam Clerk.
Appointments and reappointments.
Mr. Didio.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a motion to waive the reading of the chairman appointments?
And approve them as listed?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Runkle seconds. Any discussion on any of the appointments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
A motion to waive the reading of the communication and announcement.
Is there a second? Mr. Bennett, any discussion on the communications? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Moving into monthly,
Mr. Chair?
Yeah,
Yes.
he only did the chairman appointment.
Before we move into the resolutions, might I call for an short executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person?
is that a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second? Mr. Foley? All in favor of moving into executive session? Any opposed? Okay.
Yeah, he only waived the chairman's appointment, he didn't waive the regular appointment.
We'll add that.
Or we can do
Yeah,
it.
okay.
We can do it, we can do that.
Are we moving?
I don't know. Is this gonna be lengthy, Keith?
I hope not.
We can move into caucus room one?
I think so.
Let us move into caucus room one then.
I can tell.
She's a wonderful lady. I'm very.
Mr. Foley, I think there was-
What happened to that?
Delete.
Okay, if we could come back into regular session.
I guess I can't sit there right there.
Anybody know what happened to Mr. Batman? Mr. Didio?
What did you do with Mr. Beck?
Before we move on with our regular resolutions, we have some other appointments. Mr. Didio, would you care to move that these additional appointments
Oh, I thought I did. Yes,
be
I move
waived
to,
and approved as listed?
Reading of the additional appointments that we have for,
Is there a second? Mr. Baxter, thank you. Any discussion on these other appointments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And moving on to regular monthly resolutions, Mr. Runkle.
Mr. Chairman, we have our regular monthly resolutions, 1A, B, C, and a new one, which was added 1D, which represent paying our bills from December 9th through January 12th of 2015, and I present them all for approval.
Okay. Any discussion on any of these? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Continue, please.
Ways and Means, I'll present WM2. WM2 and WM3 went through Ways and Means and were approved. And I'll present those two for approval.
WM2 and 3. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
WM4 is New Ways and Means, did not go through Ways and Means, which basically authorized the chairman to sign contracts with certain agencies for 2015, excuse me, per their budgeted amounts which were approved in our budget. I'll offer that for approval.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion on WM4? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Any other resolutions from Ways and
That
Means?
completes Ways and Means resolution.
Okay. Health and Human Services, Mr. Mahonik.
Mr. Chairman, we have 14 resolutions. I would like to separate and extensively discuss each and every one of them at this time.
Mr. Mahonik.
Or we can
Perhaps
go
you didn't hear me?
1 through 14 if nobody objects.
Okay. Anybody wish any of these 1 through 14 separated? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Didio.
Mr. Chairman, I have, Government Ops has 4 resolutions. They all went through committee. And I'll bundle 1, 2, 3, and 4. Wait a minute.
Any discussion on 1 through 4? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Pinkney.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, planning has one resolution, it's been through committee, and ask for your support.
Any discussion on PL one? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Whitman?
Mr. Chairman, Public Works has 4 resolutions that have been through committee and approved. I would like to bundle them unless anyone would like one singled out.
Okay, any discussion on 1 through 4? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Baxter?
Mr. Chairman, Judicial and Public Safety has 5 resolutions. I would bundle those unless someone would like further discussion.
Any discussion on JP 1 through 5? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So we had Ledge 1 and Ledge 2 that was tabled. Let's bringing them back. Ledge 3 was or is the resolution that is going to NISAC and will be distributed to all our federal officials with regard to the Cayuga Nation and the decision of leadership.
I'll move it.
Mr. Batman moves in, I'll second it. Is there any discussion on that resolution? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
And I believe everybody has signed on that? Okay. Is there any other business to come before the body? Mr. Batman?
Not sure what the process is, we skipped over government operations, government operations 5, does that need to come off the table? If so, we move it come off the table?
There needs to be a second.
Second.
Doesn't it have to be presented by somebody who voted against it? No, does not. Okay, so Mr. Foley has seconded. That's in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Batman has motioned GO5, creating the position of Cayuga County Chief Information Officer and authorizing the appointment of the Director of Technology and setting the salary therefore. We have a second. Is there discussion? Mr. Whitman?
I'd like to request roll call.
Mr. Whitman requests a roll call. Any other discussion? Mr. Petter?
Mr. Chairman, I'm opposed to the motion. First of all, as it's written, I believe the salary is in there.
Yes,
And,
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's not what was discussed, so certainly it needs to be amended. Also, I just can't see where this benefits the county in any way whatsoever. I'm totally opposed to it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Bennett?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I also oppose it, like we said before, less than 30 days ago, we passed the budget and we said we have to cut, we have to save money, save the taxpayers' money, and here we are trying to create a position and create a department again possibly that we cut, or the legislature cut 4 to 5 years ago. I would vote against it.
Okay. Mr. Batman?
Sir.
Would you care to restate your motion amending the salary?
I prefer someone else amends it.
Mr. Vitale?
I'll make the amendment to the salary, as discussed earlier. I also want to state that I completely support this. IT is very, very important to the county, and we need somebody that's working for us that is in charge of the department.
I'll second the amendment.
Okay, and that salary would be 80?
I believe it's 80.
80,000, annual salary. Mr. Pinckney seconds that amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment? If not, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, we got Runkle,
3 opposed,
Whitman,
4 opposed.
Petcher. Who's the fourth one? I got Runkle, Whitman, Petcher.
Bennett?
Bennett, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on GO5 as amended now? If not, we will proceed with a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Yellow is ready. Tucker Whitman,
No.
Ben Vitale,
Yes.
Mark Farrell,
Yes.
Paul Pinkney,
Yes.
Joseph Runkel,
No.
Keith Batman,
Yes.
Hans Petcher,
No.
Terry Baxter,
Yes.
Joseph Bennett,
No.
Frank Reginelli,
Yes.
Patrick Mahonik,
Yes.
Timothy Lattimore,
Yes.
Michael Didio,
Yes.
Ryan Foley,
Yes.
Michael Chapman.
No.
Passed.
That has passed. Thank you. Is there any other business to be brought before this body this evening? Prior to adjournment, I just want to remind you, we're going to take about 5 minutes. Andrew is here. We'll get our photo taken, and we'll have that off our menu. Mr. Didio has made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Bennett. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.